In 1990, 15-year-old twin sisters Denette and Janette Milbrook vanished in Augusta, Georgia, under mysterious circumstances. On March 18th, the twins left their home to visit a relative and were last seen at a gas station near their neighborhood. Despite being a high-profile case, the investigation was marred by a lack of resources and attention. Initially, authorities treated their disappearance as a runaway case, leading to crucial delays in the investigation. Over the years, the case grew cold with no significant leads or evidence. In 2013, renewed interest from the media and advocacy groups brought the case back into the spotlight. Despite these efforts, Denette and Janette's fate remains unknown. In 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson vanished under mysterious circumstances in rural Minnesota. On the night of May 14th, Brandon was driving home from a party when his car veered into a ditch near the town of Lind. He called his parents for help, but they couldn't locate him despite being on the phone with him for 47 minutes as he described his surroundings. Brandon mentioned seeing lights in the distance and planned to walk towards them. Suddenly they heard him yell a swear word, and the call ended abruptly. Despite extensive searches involving volunteers, dogs, and helicopters, no trace of Brandon has ever been found. Frederick J Tano, a notorious gangster and prison escape artist, became one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives in the 1950s. Known as the Angel of Death, Tano was involved in various criminal activities, including armed robbery and murder. In 1947, Tano escaped from the Philadelphia County Prison, along with several other inmates. While most of his fellow escapees were eventually recaptured, Tano managed to elude authorities. Despite numerous reported sightings over the years and an extensive manhunt, he was never apprehended. The FBI removed Tano from the most wanted list in 1964, assuming he was likely dead. However, no definitive evidence of his fate has ever surfaced. In 2001, Bonnie Lee Backley, the wife of actor Robert Blake, was murdered in Los Angeles. Backley was sitting in Blake's car outside a restaurant on May 4th after having dinner with her husband. Blake claimed he had left her in the car to retrieve a gun he had accidentally left in the restaurant, and upon his return, found her shot. The case quickly drew media attention due to Blake's celebrity status and Backley's controversial past, which included a history of criminal activity and relationships with other celebrities. Blake was charged with her murder and stood trial in 2005. However, he was acquitted due to insufficient evidence. The civil trial, however, found Blake liable for her wrongful death, and he was ordered to pay $30 million to Backley's children. Despite the civil verdict, the criminal case remains officially unsolved.
In the early 20th century, Atlanta, Georgia, was terrorized by a series of brutal murders attributed to the Atlanta Ripper. In 1911, at least 15 women were brutally attacked and killed. The victims were all in their early 20s. Despite widespread fear and intense police investigations, the killer was never caught. Several suspects were arrested, but none were definitively linked to the crimes. The lack of consistent evidence stopped the investigation. The Atlanta Ripper's identity remains unknown, and the murders are one of Atlanta's most haunting unsolved mysteries. In 1991, 20-year-old Angela Hammond vanished from a phone booth in Clinton, Missouri. On the night of April 4th, Angela called her boyfriend, Rob Schaefer, from a downtown phone booth to inform him of a suspicious truck circling the area. During their conversation, she screamed as she was abducted. Rob immediately drove to the location, but as he arrived, he saw a truck speeding away. He attempted to follow it, but his car broke down, and the truck and Angela disappeared. Despite extensive searches and investigations, no trace of Angela was ever found. The case generated numerous theories and leads, but none led to her whereabouts.
Between 1918 and 1919, New Orleans was terrorized by a serial killer known as the Axeman. The killer targeted Italian-American grocers and their families, breaking into homes late at night and attacking the occupants with an axe, often using the victim's own tools. The attacks were brutal and seemingly random, spreading fear throughout the city. The Axeman's most infamous act was his letter to the local newspaper, in which he claimed to be a supernatural being who would spare any household playing jazz music on a specified night. On that night, the city was filled with the sound of jazz, and no attacks occurred. Despite numerous investigations and arrests, the Axeman was never caught, and his identity remains a mystery. In 1990, Alain Kahn, a French singer, songwriter, and flamboyant figure in the Parisian music scene, mysteriously vanished. Known for his provocative style and innovative music, Kahn had established a niche following in France during the 70s and 80s. On April 14, 1990, Kahn was last seen at the Michel-Ange Molitor metro station in Paris. He was reportedly en route to visit his brother, but he never arrived. Despite extensive searches and investigations, no trace of him was ever found. The circumstances of Kahn's disappearance remain a mystery, with various theories suggesting possible foul play, voluntary disappearance, or an accident. His vanishing left a void in the French music world and continues to be one of the most enigmatic cases in France. In 1944, the murder of 20-year-old socialite Georgette Bardorf shocked Los Angeles. Bardorf, an oil heiress and volunteer hostess at the Hollywood Canteen, was found dead in her West Hollywood apartment on October 12th. She had been strangled and was found in her bathtub. Evidence suggested a struggle. Her car was also found abandoned miles away. Investigators believe the killer entered her apartment using a passkey or through an open window. Several personal items were missing, adding to the mystery. Despite numerous leads and an intensive investigation, the case went cold. Speculation ranged from a random intruder to someone Bardorf knew. The murder remains unsolved. In 2010, Felicia Barnes, an honors student from Monroe, North Carolina, went missing while visiting her half-sister in Baltimore, Maryland. Barnes disappeared on December 28th, sparking a massive search and widespread media attention. Her body was discovered nearly 4 months later in the Susquehanna River, about 40 miles from Baltimore. The circumstances of her death were initially unclear, but it was later ruled a homicide. Michael Maurice Johnson, a man who had been dating Barnes's half-sister, was arrested and charged with her murder. He was convicted in 2013, but the conviction was overturned, leading to a retrial where he was acquitted in 2018 due to insufficient evidence. Her murder remains a tragic, unsolved mystery. In 1909, Joshua Slokum, the renowned mariner and author, mysteriously disappeared while sailing alone. Slokum was famous for being the first person to sail solo around the world, a feat he documented in his book called Sailing Alone Around the World. In November 1909, Slokum set sail from Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, on his beloved sloop, the Spray, intending to journey to the West Indies. Despite his extensive experience, Slokum never reached his destination, and neither he nor the Spray was ever seen again. The circumstances of Slokum's disappearance remain unknown. Speculations range from his vessel being caught in a storm, colliding with a steamship, or falling victim to a rogue wave. Despite various theories, no definitive evidence has ever surfaced. In 1943, the mysterious death of actor David Bacon shocked Hollywood. Known for his role in The Masked Marvel, Bacon was found dying in his car on a deserted Los Angeles street on September 13th. He had been stabbed in the chest and was shirtless, but the murder weapon was never found. Bacon managed to drive a short distance before collapsing. Witnesses saw him stagger out of the car and fall to the sidewalk. The investigation revealed few clues, and theories ranged from a lover's quarrel to a botched robbery. Bacon was married to cabaret singer Greta Keller, but rumors of relationships with men added intrigue. Despite extensive efforts, the murder remains unsolved, one of Hollywood's enduring mysteries. Holly Roth, an American novelist and journalist known for her mystery and espionage novels, vanished under mysterious circumstances in 1964. Roth was aboard a sailboat with her husband, Joseph Frady, in the waters off the coast of Morocco. On October 11, 1964, Roth reportedly fell overboard in the middle of the night. Despite an extensive search, her body was never recovered. The circumstances of her disappearance raised suspicions, as Roth was a strong swimmer and the sea conditions were calm. Speculation about her fate included accidental drowning, suicide, and foul play, but no definitive evidence has ever been found. Air Marshal Sir Arthur Coningham, a highly decorated officer of the Royal Air Force during World War II, mysteriously vanished in 1948. Coningham, known for his strategic brilliance in the North African campaign, retired after the war, and began a new chapter in his life. On January 30th, 1948, Coningham boarded a flight traveling from the Azores to Bermuda, but the aircraft vanished without a trace over the Atlantic Ocean. Despite extensive search and rescue efforts, no wreckage or bodies were ever found. The disappearance of the aircraft, along with its 31 passengers and crew, remains one of aviation's great mysteries. I visited my parents for the weekend and stopped at a quiet gas station on my way back. The station was almost empty, except for a big man sitting in front of the convenience store, reading a book. He waved and smiled as I passed. After filling my tank, I got back on the road. 10 minutes later, I passed a truck on the side of the road and was shocked to see the same man, reading the same book, wearing the same clothes, waving and smiling just as before. It seemed impossible. A week later at work, I overheard a colleague describing a similar experience at the same place. When I shared my story, he was shocked. A few weeks later, he went to the gas station to investigate. He saw the man the second time, smiling and waving. On his return trip, he saw the same man again by the roadside. Curious, he went back and asked the cashier about the man. She said no such man had been there, and mentioned others had reported the same eerie encounters.